The battered but proud people of the Empire State. From the financial and entertainment epicenter of New York City to the sleeping and empty small cities and towns of upstate, which once bustled with manufacturing, mining, and farming. We all know from inspiration, history, and nature, we deserve a return to the success and growth of generations past, a birthright being squandered by corruption in Albany, and the depredations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey everyone, welcome to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, and I'm going solo today. I am all alone here on Radio Free New York, but of course I love talking to other folks. I love talking to you listeners. So if you want to join in the conversation today, 585-346-3000. Give us a call. It's a WYSL2. We're gonna be here till 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here on this Friday. If you're hearing the rebroadcast, you call it studio, but I ain't gonna be here. But this Friday, let's say the 31st, give me a call. Love to talk to you. And, you know, we lead off this Friday. I was just talking to the producer, Bob, before the show here and thinking about some of the stuff we're not getting this summer. We're not getting Seabreeze is not opening this summer. Seabreeze, after, 140 years, isn't going to be opening. So terrible thing. I kind of get it, right? Like if you're a business like Seabreeze, you got to think like, oh man, are people really going to go out? Are we going to be able to sanitize stuff to the satisfaction of either the government or to our customers? You know, are we going to be able to keep people far enough apart for it to be okay? You're going to be able to make this work? It's tough to say, right? So I get it, but it's sad. I've only lived in the Rochester area for like, I don't know, 8 years? Yeah, 8 years now. Wow. And I've been to Seabreeze quite a few times since I've been here. It's a great thing. You know, back where I grew up, we'd go up to Water Safari. I'm from the Utica area originally. We'd go up there, and that would be kind of our big theme park. That's the closest thing around. But no, unfortunately, Seabreeze is closed. We're also talking about, marching bands. Kids don't have the opportunity to be able to get out and march and practice and learn things. And there's so many things that are going on this summer and this year that I feel bad for kids who are missing out on a big part of their childhood in this case. And again, I don't want to just blame the government for this, even though like they certainly deserve some of the blame. There is for real an actual virus out there. I get it, but it's sad, and I think we can lament that, and we can try to think of ways again to be better. And what my position has always been from the beginning is, if the government puts too many restrictions on what we're able to do and how we're able to adapt to this situation, it's going to drag it out more, and it's going to stunt development of kids and of people and of businesses. We're going to put ourselves in a place where, we're not able to grow and thrive. And we see that in part from the economic report that came out yesterday. Bob Savage and I were talking about that a bit at the last segment of yesterday's show, where we have a 32% drop in GDP. Again, that's from Q1 to Q2, but absolutely devastating. The biggest drop in GDP, I think, since the Great Depression. And I think that one was only like a 15% drop. So absolutely devastating what's going on here. Part of it's the virus, part of it's people being freaked out, and then a big part of it's the government restrictions that are going on here. And we've talked about that plenty here on Radio Free New York, and I don't know. Interesting. But, and then the other, I got one more news item that I want to talk about related to the coronavirus thing. It's, I saw that Dr. Fauci, I guess, is recommending wearing goggles now. This is something I heard about way back when, too, like way back when things are first starting, when people were saying, oh, yeah, it spreads through the eyes, right? So people were telling me, like, oh, it doesn't really do much to wear a mask because it's going to come in through your eyes anyway. You need to have a whole get up to be able to do that. And actually, when it first came out, and I was freaked out by this, too, after my initial skepticism, where I was like, nah, it's nothing to worry about. I did end up buying goggles. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to be safe. I'm gonna buy some goggles, and I'm gonna have these on, so when I'm going into like Wegmans or whatever, I'm not gonna get stuff in my eyes. I'm gonna look like I'm in a Mad Max cosplay here, because I got my goggles, like my mask on, and I was trying to cover up and everything too, and worry about desanitizing myself, afterwards. And it looks like what we're finding out now with a lot of this stuff is we're just we're it ends up being kind of what it's not in the security theater, right? It's like health theater, right? You look at all the people who, my wife did this too. People are cleaning their mail and they're trying to wipe down everything, and they're starting to say like, oh, maybe it's not really going to do much. It's not going to protect you. It might make you feel better, if you have these companies, or you personally like cleaning off all your stuff all the time. But that ain't really how it works. It's clean off your mail, like the viruses, when they get in the paper particles and whatnot, they don't really survive long. They stick to that pretty well. So it's not something you got to worry about all that much. But it's something I think about with the with going out to restaurants and whatnot. Is this keeping us any safer? Is it just to make us feel better? And is there value in making us feel better in that process, right? Is there value in saying like, all right, we'll do this to make us feel better, the government feel better, the other patrons feel better, and it ain't gonna do all that much. Is that putting us in danger by doing that? Maybe not. If people drop their guard and they start acting recklessly, I guess that's a problem, right? But if anyone has any thoughts on that, again, give us a call, 585-346-3000. Love to hear your thoughts on that. That is not the main topic I wanted to talk about today, but it's something I had on my mind because I was one of those goofballs who bought a pair of goggles back in March because I'm like, what, better safe than sorry. I'm gonna buy some goggles. I'm gonna be prepared. Right, never be too prepared. That was my thought anyway. But the main topic that I want to talk about today is I want to talk about education. And again, if you're a parent out there and you're thinking about like what's going on with my kid's school, I'm seeing some of these plans come out from school districts. Where I live, Rochester City School District just announced their plan yesterday. Greece School District announced theirs a few days ago. I think Irondequoit might have announced theirs as well. And we're seeing all these school districts come out with some of these plans that are they're called hybrid plans, right? So they're plans where they might have a segment of students who are at home. They're doing, distance learning. They're learning through Zoom, and that's what they're going to be doing the full time. So there's some families, they want to be able to exercise that option. They're going to be home the whole time. But even among the students who want to go back to school, the families who want to send their kids back to school, that may not be an option. They're trying to stagger it so they don't have all these kids in the classroom all at once. And so what we end up getting is we have, these schedules at some of these schools where kids are going, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or, Monday, Wednesday, and then Friday everyone's on, and Tuesday, Thursday, they have another set of kids who are going in, and they're trying to keep it so like the classrooms are spaced out or whatever. But this situation almost ends up creating more hardship, right? Because then now what are you going to do? Like if you're a parent who needs to physically go into work, and not all of us have the luxury of being able to work from home and do our thing. If you're a parent who needs to do that, you need to have childcare for your kids. So now what? You got to go find an extra person to watch your kids, or you got to take off time from work, or you got to do this thing. And of course you have to send your kids to school, right? It is compulsory education. We can't just say, no, we're just going to opt out of this process and kids just ain't going to go to school now. Like that's not legally permissible. We're not able to do that. So, and what's worse, as I've heard stories of parents who are extremely worried that they if they have 2-3 kids or however many kids, that they're not going to be on the same schedule. So, it would be easier if, okay, we just got to pay someone to watch the kids while I go to work on Tuesday and Thursday, and they're all going to be there on the same day. No, sometimes it's mixed up for some families, or they're worried that it's going to be mixed up for some families. So what do they do in that situation? Who's going to watch their kids there? It makes it even more difficult. You've got to pay more people to do more things. These families cannot afford it. And, when we come back from the break, coming up in here in a few minutes, I'll dive into what the city school districts are doing. But if you're a parent who's thinking about this, I want to hear from you. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. Tell me what you think. Are you going to send your kids back to school? And if so, how are you going to manage it? Talk to you soon here on Radio Free New York.
business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Catch a wave at Waldameer.
Waterworld opens daily at 11 with a giant wave pool, water playgrounds, relaxing river, and exciting body and tube slides like the incredible new 6-lane Rally Racer. The Rally Racer is the longest, fastest slide in Waterworld. Come experience the excitement as you race your family and friends. And Waldameer opens at noon with a variety of thrill rides and family rides like the exciting new Whirlwind spinning coaster. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, Waldameer is limited to 50% capacity, so there's no free admission. Guests must purchase admission tickets at waldameer.com or at the park. Children under 1 are free. Face masks are required. So visit waldameer.com, purchase your admission tickets, and come have some fun.
Catch a wave, catch a day at Waldameer. Your wet and wild summer getaway. Excitement waits for you at Waldameer. Waldameer in Erie, PA.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you. We're live today, Friday, July 31st on WYSL, noon to 1. So give us a call if you want to participate in the discussion. If you are a parent looking at this hybrid school model or a all Zoom meeting school model, and you're looking at this and you're like, all right, is this going to work for me and my family? Is this going to work? I want to know what you're doing. Would love to know. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. But, of course, shout out to our other listeners who are listening on places like WACK out in Newark, WENY, The Patriot down in the Southern Tier, and, of course, all of our friends who are listening online on our Facebook pages, on YouTube, on Twitter. You guys rock. And thanks for commenting. I see a comment from Drew saying homeschool 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. Hey, well, you know, that works, too. You know, you could, if you're doing homeschool, you know, and you want to be the one to teach your children, then great. Yeah, if you can flex those hours and do what you want. Now, I mean, I'm not a parent, so I don't know how we're doing 10 p.m. schooling for young kids works, but, you know, you do you. That's the beautiful thing about doing like homeschool and giving parents more choices is that you can make a schedule that works for you and your family and your children. That's a great thing. I think that we should be giving more options for people to be able to do that type of stuff. And, you know, so I want to jump into some of the rationale, though, like because the Rochester City School District put all this stuff out yesterday, and they put out a rationale for that. I'm just going to read that off just because I think it's interesting to think about. It says, Early reports suggest the number of COVID-19 cases among children may vary by age and other factors. Adolescents aged 10 to 17 may be more likely to become infected with SARS-CoV-2 than children younger than age 10, but adolescents do not appear to be at higher risk for developing severe illness per CDC guideline. It's important to consider community transmission risks as schools reopen. Evidence from schools internationally suggests that school reopenings are safe in communities with low COVID-19 rates. And of course, the rates in Monroe County, they're pretty low. There's 37 people hospitalized right now, so not a ton. There are 300 cases right now in Monroe County, so very, very small percentage of people. 300 is not that many, not at all. And we have the testing capacity to be able to figure stuff out and to find the folks who, if they are infected, do some good contact tracing. I know people are worried about contact tracing. I get that. I'm amenable to those concerns, but just to like, oh, hey, that guy you hung out with a party the other day, he had COVID, so maybe you want to go to one of the testing sites and figure it out. I'm not a big fan of like, you were at a party with someone who had COVID, so now you're basically under house arrest, and if you go out, we're gonna jail you or monitor you. No, no, there are some problems with that, but the contact tracing where they're like, hey, you may be infected, you should be responsible and go and find stuff out and maybe go get a test and see if you're infected. Okay, cool. Yeah, you know what? I get that. So I think we have a pretty good system in Monroe County. I think we're doing all right here. And so we need to look at what does it mean to have students in these classrooms. Of course, you can't control what students are doing. I'm seeing some of the memes go around where it's like, oh, the students, like one person's going to come in with a Paw Patrol mask and another's going to come in with a Spider-Man mask, and they're just going to switch masks because they want to make a trade with their friend. Yeah, kids do stuff like that, or they're going to run around and they're going to like lick their friend because that's what kids do. They just do weird stuff like that. To mess with people, because I don't know, I did stupid stuff like that as a kid. So keeping those kids under control and keeping the infection under control in that environment is incredibly challenging. And I've worked in a childcare center before, so I know that like sickness spreads so easily. When I worked at a childcare center, I wasn't working directly with kids, but even being in the presence of all the teachers who are working with the kids, I got sick so much more often. It's just because kids don't think, they'll like wipe their nose and then like touch stuff. That's what even with a mask on, that's what they do. So it's challenging. And from what I've seen from my teacher friends, they're very worried about this. They're worried about, being in school and being in this environment and protecting themselves. What if they're in a high risk category where this is going to be a challenge? And the teachers union in Rochester doesn't want to go back at all. They're saying no. The city school district plan is totally unacceptable. We can't do this. But the city school district is saying they have safeguards in place. They're going to have masking for all staff and students, social distancing, spacing people out, limiting the number of staff in buildings, and then additional cleaning and disinfecting and stuff like that. I've seen private childcare facilities do some of this stuff too, where it's like, okay, parents aren't really supposed to go in like they normally do and drop the kid off at the classroom. They get dropped off at the door. As soon as the kid gets in, they wash the kid's hands, and everyone's wearing masks and all that stuff. So that's a whole thing. If you're at a private childcare place, like that's the kind of stuff you're already dealing with. And they figured it out. Because private facilities, they don't have the luxury of governments just giving them money, right? Like they can't count on those receipts. In situations like this, we got to kind of weigh the different interest groups, right? Like, okay, what is the purpose of school? Of course, schools are there to provide an education for children, right? That's ostensibly their point. And we have these teachers who are like, hey, we didn't want to go in; it's too much of a risk. We're going to sit this out, or we need to just do distance learning, even though a lot of teachers don't like that either. They're just not, they're trained and used to doing in-person learning. And it is a different style of teaching to do stuff online. And it takes, years of developing those skills to be able to do that effectively. There are folks out doing that right now who figured it out. And we'll get to what I think we should do about that in a bit. But we're trying to weigh these different constituencies, and the teachers are like, no, we want to not do this job, and we want to get paid for it. And again, I'm not dismissing the concerns of teachers, but in a private setting, that ain't possible. We can't just be like, yeah, you're going to pay us for this service, and then we're not going to actually provide it. And that's essentially what some teachers and some teachers unions are asking to do. And again, the Rochester Teachers Union voted unanimously to adopt a resolution saying that they want to postpone any in-person instruction until at least November. So yeah, but again, that doesn't work for parents. Parents got to go to work. They got to do their thing. We've got to like move on with our lives in some of these ways. But when you have no financial incentive to make sure you get back to work, well, it's pretty easy to make a statement like that. But again, how do you weigh the risks against the against the need to educate children, or at least the expectation from parents to have somewhere for their children to go for the day, and to have, I mean, it's more than it's more than just childcare, but they have somewhere for their children to go for the day and to learn and to get the education that we expect out of our public school system. So what, looking at all this stuff and kind of thinking about how our money's being used and whether or not we should continue paying staff for providing this education, do parents or do any taxpayers for that matter, do we have a right to say, this isn't working for us, we want to explore other options, and should the state, local governments, federal, who probably state or local governments, should they allow parents to take that money, that however many thousands of dollars per student in their district, and that varies per district, but maybe you could even it out. Should they be able to take that money and say, you know what, I need to find a solution that works for me. This is no longer the deal that makes sense. The deal was I send my kids to public school 5 days a week, and that's what they get an education, and they have someone to take care of them during the day, and that's what it's going to be, right? That's what a lot of folks expect. That's no longer the deal. We ain't got that. So a lot of parents, and I've seen this across the political spectrum, it's not just the folks a year ago who would be talking about homeschooling. They're usually either hippy-dippy types, or they're conservatives, or who don't like the public school system. Now I'm seeing folks across the political spectrum start to talk about, like, okay, this ain't working for me anymore. How can I find something that's going to be more effective for me and my family? What if I just took some money and hired a teacher, and I got 10 other parents together, and we all did the same thing. We paid this teacher, and we paid them to teach our kids math and reading and all this stuff during the day, and we develop our own curriculum, or we have the teacher who wants to not be in a big public school but what is willing to work with a small group. They're going to teach what they would normally teach in school, right? So there's these things called, like, they've always been around, but homeschooling pods that are starting to pop up. We're starting to see parents say, all right, this ain't gonna do for us anymore, so how do we adapt to it? Now the challenge becomes, that's a tough option for a lot of folks. If you're paying someone $250, $300, $500 a week, that's just out of the budget for some folks. So the folks who are able to exercise that option are going to be a bit more wealthy, but for the folks who are living in poverty right now, and they don't have any other option, they're kind of stuck with whatever, they're at the mercy of whatever the public schools are saying right now. What are they going to do? What are they going to do if it doesn't work and they're not able to rearrange their schedule or connect with family and find people to watch their kids, or able to get their kids to school on these off days? What happens? And again, what's the obligation of the school to help, or the education system as a whole, to help kids and parents meet these needs? And wouldn't it be better, maybe just maybe, parents and students had the option to have a little bit more control over their education? Isn't this a good opportunity right now, as we're looking at a model where maybe kids can't always be in school or don't want to be in a big classroom all together all day? Maybe it's better to look at decentralizing education right now. Now, we've talked about this before. Andrew's done a couple shows on this before, but I posed this question, and I know we're coming up on a break soon, but I posed this question that, should parents get a refund, or maybe a voucher, however you want to call it? Should parents get a refund or a voucher for education? Should they be able to take that money? Should the money follow the students to whatever education model fits that family's needs. We'll talk a little bit more about this after the break here on Radio Free New York. And of course, if you want to participate in this conversation, give us a call, 585-346-3000. We'll talk to you in just a few minutes after the break.
More than twice the power.
WYSL.
More powerful FM 92.1, FM 95.5 West, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center. Tonight, mainly clear skies. Another beautiful night coming up. Cool temps in the lower 60s, not humid at all on Saturday. Great start to the weekend. Good deal of sunshine. Temperatures in the low to mid 80s. Clouds will come in Saturday night, turning much more humid, and it will be a chance for some strong to severe thunderstorms Sunday. I'm Rich Cornelia on WYSL.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whenever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Hi, this is Gary Mervis. I am inviting you to be a guest at our 37th annual Tournament of Love golf tournament at Monroe Golf Club on August 3rd. The Tournament of Love is a wonderful premier tournament that helps Camp Good Days to be there for the children and families in our community affected by cancer. Cancer doesn't stop during a pandemic, and neither do we. We are making changes to ensure that all participants will be safe while not compromising the fun that the tournament brings. There are sponsorship opportunities available, so whether your company would like to support the tournament or you would like to support as a golfer, there are options for everyone. Please visit our website or call Camp Good Days at 624-5555 for more information. Thank you.
Did Mom leave the stove on again? Dad forget to take his pills? The senior citizen in your life deserves to be treated like family in every way, and you deserve the peace of mind that comes from knowing your older family member is getting personalized care, even though they're not yet ready for a nursing home. Consider Alpine Manor, founded in 1971 by owner Tim Kinsella, and just 20 minutes from Rochester in Lima, Livingston County. At Alpine Manor, there are supervised activities and medications, full laundry and housekeeping services provided to your loved one in immaculate surroundings. You can move to warmer regions secure in the knowledge that your loved one is well cared for back at home. You could qualify for $1,830 per month VA benefits or $1,176 per month for a surviving spouse. Alpine Manor, New York State Health Department licensed. Call 346-5880 for a no-obligation tour or information, or visit alpinemanor.com.
Smith Lumber and Hardware Center in Lakeville proudly carries Reliance water heaters in electric, gas, and propane. Reliance water heaters are backed by the industry's best warranties, with a variety of choices with one sure to meet your needs. Reliance water heaters, your neighborhood water heater source. Available at Smith Lumber and Hardware Center, Route 20A, Lakeville. Smith Lumber and Hardware Center in Lakeville has your swimming pool and spa needs.
All Seasons Wine and Spirits, East Main Street, Avon, offers the largest selection of New York State wines in Livingston County. Save 15% on a case. You can mix and match. Open daily. All Seasons Wine and Spirits in Avon.
Flower City Collision in Henrietta is your hometown body shop. Flower City works with all major insurance companies, repairing your vehicle back to pre-accident condition. Finest craftsmanship using PPG products. Get it done right. Visit flowercitycollision.com.
You're listening to Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm Kevin Wilson, your host for today, and flying solo today. We're talking about education. We're talking about what are parents going to do this fall when they've got an option of a hybrid model of education. Everyone wants the kids back in school if we can, but everyone wants it to do it safely. So you're looking at a couple days a week. Kids are going to be in school a couple days a week. They're going to be at home learning. Teachers in some situations are expected to teach the entire classroom, some of which will be there in front of them and some of which will be online at the same time. I'm skeptical that would work, I'd love to hear from teachers who are looking at this situation. If you're brave enough to come on and talk about it on this program, I'd love to hear from you at 585-346-3000. And I don't know. I've done meetings before, and this isn't trying to do it with children. Just trying to do it with adults. I've done meetings where like half the meeting is in person and half the meeting is online, and it's a mess with adults who like have a specific purpose and project in mind. I can't imagine what that's going to be like with a bunch of children. I don't know. It sounds challenging. I am sure folks are up to it. But a lot of parents are looking at this model and they're like, no, I'm not sure that works for me anymore. So they're looking at things like homeschooling pods, or can they go to a private school now? Because there's some private schools that are going to try to be open all the way. Do you have options where they can do just online learning in a way that might be more effective than what some of the public schools are offering? And I know I've had conversations with Bob Savage about this, who's less, but I know a lot of folks are like, the online learning is not the way to go. I think you can do it right. I think what we've seen in the spring of this year ain't quite online learning how it's meant to be. If you're intentional about it, you bring in like the right visual aids and you bring in the right projects. I've seen it done incredibly well. There's some awesome folks who are doing online learning right now, including in the Rochester area. And yeah, you can get kids really engaged. They're used to it. They're digital natives. They're able to adapt to that model extremely well, even at a pretty young age. I know screen time's a whole thing, right? And I'm not a child development expert, so tell me I'm wrong on that. Happy to hear it, but I think you can do that stuff well if you're intentional about it. It's kind of my point. But I put out this question on my page, on my Facebook page, not the Radio Free New York page. I put out this question on my Kevin Wilson ROC page, and I asked, should parents get a refund for their child's education if it's not going to be provided in the way that they expected, right? And of course, guys, my libertarian friends are like, well, why just parents get a refund? We should all get a tax refund. I shouldn't have to pay property taxes to fund a school that, I don't have children attending, or that no children are attending at all. Y'all, that's fair. I get that. Now, realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I think that people are going to look at it and they're going to be like, well, we all got to be in this together, and we got to, we have to pool our resources because education is a public good and it benefits the entire community if we have a population that's literate and educated and able to go into the workforce. Okay. Now, whether or not our public schools are currently providing that, well, I guess that depends on where you live, which is unfortunate. Y'all get that critique. You want your property tax money back. I get that too. Ain't gonna happen. At least probably not in the next few years. Happy to keep discussing that. But what I was thinking about is I was thinking about, again, how do we start thinking about education in a broader way? How do we start thinking about it in a way where families have some level of control of the educational experiences that their families have, and be able to mesh that with also like what works for the parents too, right? Like it's got to kind of be both, right? Let's say like let's just hold the arguments for now and just say that there's some obligation on parents to make sure their children are educated. Let's just start with the baseline. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have that discussion from there. Okay, so every parent has to educate their children. Does it have to be at a public school? Maybe. I don't know that it does. And right now it doesn't. Right? You can go to a private school. You can homeschool. You can do your thing. So the biggest pushback that I've seen, we mentioned that like if you're gonna pool your resources with a bunch of other parents and you're going to hire a teacher and you're going to educate, a group of 10 kids or whatever, can many families afford it? I mean, and the answer is bluntly no, many families can't. So I've seen the critique come out from local politicians, from public education advocates to say that, well, we can't allow parents to opt out of the school system because that's racist or classist. I've seen that. They focus on, white parents tend to be the ones doing this most often. And let's give a good faith argument to what they're trying to say here. Is they're trying to say like when a kid doesn't attend school, and kid's not in school, either physically present or I assume there's some sort of compensation scheme for Zoom too, the schools don't get paid. Right? Like, so when a kid doesn't attend for that day, the school doesn't get that additional money for each student who's not there. Right? So if students start pulling out, the schools themselves have fewer resources to be able to adapt or to be able to meet the needs of the entire body of students that they're supposed to be serving. So that's their argument, is that by parents pulling out, there are fewer resources here for the children that remain to be able to access and education and to have the supplies or the staff resources to be able to educate people adequately. Okay, so that's their argument. But here's the thing. Here's how I look at that. I think parents are going to try to do what they can to make sure that their kids have the best opportunities possible wherever possible. And if you are concerned that, parents who don't have a lot of money aren't able to access things like homeschooling pods, and you accept the premise that it is legitimate for taxes to go towards the purpose of educating children, then why not allow families to take those school resources, have the funding for education tied to the student rather than being tied to the district, so that family can go and find a private school that meets their needs better. Maybe they shift the hours, or they like their safety protocols, or they're just open 5 days a week, or to be able to go into one of those homeschooling pods. Why not be able to do it? If you think that education is really the important part and not merely, providing jobs for folks, which, goodness, I've heard that, oh, well, we need to make sure all these jobs are available. No, that's not the goal of schools. It's not a jobs program. It's a program to educate children. All right, if we're gonna accept that premise, then okay, let's do that. Let's say that our education system is to educate children, not provide jobs. That ain't what it's for. No, if we're looking at this and we have parents who need to have a greater level of flexibility than ever before, why not let that money follow the student? Why not say students, they get a voucher if they're going to, again, a teaching pod or private school, whatever, they have that money follow them. What's wrong with that? And again, seriously, I'd love to hear the counter arguments for that. Give us a call, 585-346-3000. We're here until 1 o'clock. I don't know, like to me, that makes sense. And you would get a lot more innovation in how people are able to deliver education too. I think that the industrial model of education that we have now, I'm not sure that it works for every student. It's a one-size-fits-all solution that doesn't work for every family. There are some students that just don't learn well in those methods of teaching, and they come out of the schooling system thinking that they're a failure because they didn't adapt to the testing and the curriculum that has been given to them. And they may be very bright, intelligent people. They just didn't connect with the right folks because this was realistically their only option to attend a public school. And there's some wonderful teachers in there. Don't get me wrong. I did well in public school. I feel like I figured it out, and I would kind of coast by and do what I needed to do, and I got good grades, and that's fine. But I know other folks who are now bright and successful and great people who did terrible in school, but they just didn't have the right environment or the right teachers to connect with them at the time to be able to succeed. So we need to rethink education altogether, and I think that this moment offers us a unique opportunity to say, okay, some kids, they're going to learn better online. They're going to connect that material. They learn at their own pace. They're going to do their thing. Okay, great. Some kids are going to learn that small pod environment. And you can balance the needs of the parents, the students, and the teachers themselves by operating in a free market. We have a coercive, one-size-fits-all system right now. It ain't working. It ain't working for many parents. And I think that we need bold solutions at every level of government to be able to start to address this issue and make education, unlock the potential of education, to think beyond the small box of education that we tried to fit ourselves into now. We can do better. And I think, again, if we let the market decide by giving parents the resources to be able to do that, I think that's a better solution than we have now. And I know it's not a perfect. I don't feel like I need to fit into a libertarian box in some of these situations. I know taxpayer money. I get it. I'm talking about, like, what does most of America think, and how can we start to think outside of that centrally planned education system we have now? All right. So we got one more segment for this week. Unfortunately, no Fake News Friday this week because I'm alone. I can't Fake News Friday with myself. But thanks again for listening to Radio Free New York. We're going to be back in just a few minutes.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
If you're looking to market and grow your business, make new business connections, and give back to the community in a meaningful way, consider joining the Greece Regional Chamber of Commerce. We're the largest suburban chamber in Monroe County, and we offer networking, education, marketing, insurance, and advocacy. You do not need to live or work in Greece to join. Our members come from throughout the region. In short, we're better together, and together, we're moving business forward. Visit greecechamber.org or call 585-227-7272 to join today.
A reminder from Abate Monroe County. American bikers aim toward education. Distracted driving is dangerous, so pull over and eat. Don't try to read your mail and newspaper, and stay off your cell phone. Make a mental note to be more alert, making it a habit to expect the unexpected. Remember to look twice. Save a life. Train yourself to watch for motorcycles which are harder to see. Join Abate, and your family will be protected with a free $4,000 accident policy. Ride safe. Ride free. Ride often. Abate. If you ride with us. Google Abate Monroe County.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at SimpleTech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, SimpleTech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Radio Free New York.
Welcome back to Radio Free New York. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you for those listening online, commenting, participating in the discussion. I appreciate your engagement. You guys rock. So we're talking about education, and just kind of to wrap that up a little bit. I think if states, local governments, education systems, if they restrict the options available to parents and they start to say, like, no, you can't do this stuff, you can't do pause, and there's just some talk of doing that, I think you do so at your own peril. I think that people are getting incredibly frustrated with the education system as it exists now. I think we've talked about the frustrations that many people have in the Rochester City School District with its budget mismanagement and its outcomes that are, man, they're just really not good. And I know we could talk about poverty, but it's like, can't we think outside the box? And I don't have all the answers to this. I don't think any one person has all the answers to this. But that's a great thing about when you leave things up to the market, is that there are other people thinking really, really hard about what is the best way that we can educate kids at different levels and of different abilities and different learning styles and different paces. There are people thinking about this stuff all the time. And if we open up the doors to say, like, you can connect with these educational resources from anywhere, I think you open up a huge new world of possibility where kids are able to find, better educational solutions, and families are better able to find educational solutions that work for them. So, I'm interested in what it would be, what would end up happening if we had something like it. I'm looking at a Reason article right now. A guy called the Corey DeAngelis, he's the head of Reason's director of school choice. That's his actual title. I'm looking at that. He called it a universal basic education income. Okay, so like people can do that type of stuff, and again, we're already paying for this stuff anyway. We've accepted the premise of public schools. All right, and again, I know, hardcore libertarian friends, you ain't with me on this. I don't think that most people are going to be accepting of totally privatizing education at this point. But how can we look at things? How can we take that next step to say, what does the world look like when there's a market in education instead of a almost monopoly on education, which is what we have now? But hey, could be wrong. I don't know. I'm not working in the education system. I'm just looking at these papers, and I'm looking at these articles, and I'm looking at what parents are saying, and I'm thinking, man, you know what would help this? More freedom. That's kind of my default position, but that is what I'm looking at. I'm like, man, if parents had better choices and they had the means to do so, I think that'd be a good thing. Again, could be wrong. Give me a call, 585-346-3000. Tell me I'm wrong. Happy to hear it. But all right. I think I beat that topic to death. And I got a couple minutes, and every time I have an opportunity to talk about, like zoning, it is one of my dumb, weird things I'm super interested in. And we got President Donald Trump talking about a zoning issue this week, and it made a lot of people freak out. People thought it was a dog whistle, which, okay, I'm just going to read the tweet, and y'all can tell me what you think. It says, and this was sent out on a couple days ago on July 29th. It says, I am happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low-income housing built in your neighborhood. Your housing prices will go up based on the market, and crime will go down. I have rescinded the Obama-Biden AFFH rule. Enjoy. And that's the affordable housing and fair housing rule. And basically, this rule required a whole bunch of justification for, like, that you were allowing fair housing and low-income housing in different areas as a way of receiving HUD grants. And so that's Housing and Urban Development. Of course, that's led by Ben Carson. And it's interesting to see that because just a couple years ago, Ben Carson said, and I'll quote him from, and this is September 12th, 2018, HUD is taking on NIMBYs, not in my backyard, folks. I agree with no opinion that we must look at increasing supply of affordable housing by reducing onerous zoning regulations. Zoning laws are holding back America's cities. And so this is kind of a change in pace to say, like, Donald Trump is going to make it less likely that affordable housing is going to be built in these areas. What Ben Carson and what Donald Trump was talking about until pretty recently is saying, like, okay, cities, if you want this housing money, if you want to get these federal grants to be able to build something in your city, then you have to deregulate. You have to decrease the zoning laws to say, like, there has to be fewer restrictions on the type of building that you're able to do if you want to partner with these programs. And a lot of cities do. They want that sweet government cash. They love it. So they're saying, well, you want that sweet government cash. Well, you gotta start fixing your zoning. You got to make it easier to do. And of course, we had a guest on 2 Fridays ago, a guy named Charles Marone, and he was on talking about strong towns, things like that. And he wrote this article called "It's Time to Abolish Single-Family Zoning," and it was written in the American Conservative magazine, and he's talking about like why it is a conservative position to not restrict building on private property to only single-family housing. And I'm going to share that article in the chat for those of you listening online. It's definitely worth taking a look at, why we might want to look at, if you're conservative, you're libertarian, why you might want to look at these zoning laws that there seem to be kind of a building consensus around for property rights conservatives and libertarians and progressives to say, maybe we need to look at this land use restriction and maybe like the incentives that the federal government and the state governments used to provide to kind of build out distant and expensive suburbs aren't working anymore. Maybe that was a mistake that didn't do well. Maybe we need small investments, incremental growth. We need stuff that's driven by local private development and not this top-down, expensive federal experiment, which is what we got with both suburbs and the housing projects that we get in many cities. A lot of that is, again, it's the federal government bureaucrats thinking they know what's best for our cities and dictating how and when and where we're going to do that. And it's not sustainable. It really ain't. So, again, anytime I have an opportunity to talk about zoning, this is one of my weird soapboxes that I like to talk about. And I think it's worth checking out if you guys haven't. And it's a conservative position. It really is. It's lower government, greater property taxes. Donald Trump's kind of turned this on its head a little bit, and he started saying, like, well, we're going to protect the suburbs. We're going to do a thing. And folks, I get it. Maybe Andrew and I will talk about this more for Talk of the Town Tuesday if we can. And we've done shows on zoning before. Look them up. We did a show on zoning and redlining and stuff like that. And list that Charles Marone show I did 2 weeks ago. It's worth it. I think, to me, you gotta. I think that the world works better when we deregulate, when we allow people to do what they want to do. As long as it's not hurting others or taking their stuff, it's a great thing. Let's look at, how can we remove subsidies? How can we, and again, some of the suburban developments that the federal government finances are run off of deficit spending. They're not sustainable. These cities and towns can no longer afford to build the infrastructure that the federal government came in and plowed in. Okay, great. What are we going to do now? All right, like if we allow this stuff, that if we allow these communities the freedom to be able to build up and to be self-sustaining on their own, we get a stronger community. We get a more effective community. And I think, again, conservatives and libertarians, the folks who listen to this show, think about how we can do that without driving us into debt. All right. Thanks so much for joining us today here on Radio Free New York. We'll be back Monday, same time. Have a great weekend, folks.